102.3 FM, licensed to New Bern, North Carolina.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another wonderful broadcast of Awesome Radio Network. It's great that you are joining us tonight on Let's Talk Real Life with Miss Nada Manning. And as you just heard, WECU's 1570 AM and 107.5 FM. Just as a reminder, we're the station that plays the best. Yes, we do. All right. Well, we're live in the station tonight. Hope you are having a great evening. Hope you're enjoying the weather change. Those who have been waiting for the warm weather to appear, it is now time. That's right. So the cold may come through every now and then, but right now, the warm weather is coming. And speaking of warm, we have a very, very contentious subject, a very important subject to discuss tonight and perhaps on another show. But we are ready to dive in to one of the most important shows that you will hear, I know, in all of 2026. So without further delay, I'm going to introduce the host, Miss Nada Manning. She is always the teacher of teachers in this hour of Let's Talk Real Life with Miss Nada Manning. Hello, how are you?
Hello. Good evening, everyone. It is a pleasure to be here with you this evening. As Coach had mentioned, we're going to talk about a subject that everyone can relate to, and it's called living single. Living single. Yes, living single. Not married, but living single. As we go into this topic, which will be a series, don't know how many parts as of yet, depends on how many responses we get. But living single, there were some questions that came up regarding that. I can speak from personal experience of being single for a long time. It is an interesting life. It's very productive. It can be very productive. It depends on choices made, as it is in life. We have choices that we make whether we're single or married. But it's my journey of singlehood. Once married, yes, I was once married, deceased husband. That married life was definitely different than my single life. Being single, I believe, in my experience, in my reading, has a lot of positiveness going on. It's a lot of learning experiences, being single, trying to learn different things throughout life, handling situations on your own, making decisions on your own, becoming very independent, sometimes preferably and sometimes not preferably, of making decisions on your own. It can be very taxing, very draining, very tiring, but yet rewarding.
Well,
So
let's I don't mean to cut you off, but you ready to give out some basic definitions of what we're talking about? Because you into the meat already.
I was just trying to
Yeah.
give an introduction
Mm-hmm.
of what singlehood is like
Yeah.
in my experience.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm going to get into that. As I indicated, it will be several parts to this. And we did agree that we were going to take this slow. So, it will take some time to go over some things.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so, yes, I do want to get in. He's very interested in knowing some of the questions that he had, folks. That's what that is. He wanted to get
Yeah.
on into what he wanted.
I'm ready to go to work. But anyway, carry on. I told
As,
y'all this is the subject right here now.
as you can hear, folks, one of the major things of being single, being independent, is very productive in the sense of getting things done, but getting it done in order and getting it done so that it can be effective, not just getting it done, but getting it done so it can be effective to help folks. So that's part of being the singlehood that I'm talking about. You can hear it right now. But anyway, he wants to move on. I wanted to get my point out. I got some of it out, but I'm going to have a chance to talk again later on. One of the questions is, what's your definition of situationship?
No, let's do the marriage first, though. Yeah. What's your definition of marriage? And then I'm going to read it. You share with us what you think because everybody's got their own definition. And, God's got his definition. But I want the people to think about what their definition is, and then we'll peruse that. So I did have that order wrong.
Yes, you did.
Yeah, but so that's what I was going to share with you. What is the definition of marriage? Off the top of your head, and what it is, there is no wrong answer. I'm not going to say no, you wrong about that.
No, because like I said, marriage applies to both of us at some point. So
Yeah.
my definition of marriage is having a total commitment to your partner, being engaged with your partner, your spouse, so to speak. Since it's marriage, I'm not going to say partner. I'm going to say spouse.
Yeah.
Being
good.
engaged with your spouse wholeheartedly and agreeing to disagree, making decisions together, moving forward together with the same goal. Now, because it's two separate individuals in a marriage, each individual have their own thought process, their own way of doing things, but that's where the sharing comes in. That's where many times, it creates some differences, some back and forth between the two people because of the difference of opinion. So what comes along with that, folks, is compromising. No one person is right all the time, and they must agree to disagree on whatever the issue is and come to a final decision that's going to be productive for everybody, even though the one might not be happy all the time, but that's okay. Maybe that one can be happy the next time when something comes around, because rest assured, in any marriage, in any relationship, there's going to be differences, and that is supposed to be understood. Now, marriage can be different as you get older as opposed to when you're younger. So definitions when you're younger, because you're so young, you don't have the experience or the exposure or the knowledge and wisdom that you would have when you're, say, 40 or 50 years old. By then, you've been around a while and you've learned some things. So hopefully, when the two are married young and they stay together, they then will grow together, learn together, and get wisdom together. If they should happen to part, they're still getting older, so therefore they're going to have some differences as a single person. So I am pretty much saying I don't think that today's marriages, what's the difference, marriage today?
Well, let me give my definition of marriage. You had your turn, and we heard y'all. So we're having a discussion tonight, right? Not a presentation. So now, here is the definition of what I think marriage is. And those that are listening, you're thinking about what it is to you, but I'm just going to read a definition of a biblical marriage, which is what I think marriage is, and that'll just sum it up.
Well, now, wait a minute. You
Sure.
said your definition. That means
Yeah,
it's not in the book. It's what's in your head.
No, but I'm saying this is what's in my head. They just summed it up better. But okay, well, I won't read that then. That's good. It's a union between two people sanctioned by God, where you spiritually become one with the person that you're marrying. And in that, you love. Now, I learned late that marriage is the replica of. It wasn't until after I was divorced that I learned and the scripture came highlighted into me that love your wife or your spouse, or love your wife as Christ loved the church. Now, I didn't hear that audibly in my soul and in my mind. If somebody had read it or said it before to me or heard it in a message, the reality didn't come to me until after. But I did wholeheartedly, love my wife, actively. So I think the definition to me was we are one, and I'm the head of the household, and I know that's not the same in everybody's marriage, but that union is we were connected at the soul because we were together so long, as well as spiritually. We were together so long since the sixth grade. And so I knew that we were one. It didn't have to be symbolically spiritual. Uh, we were just that close because we were just that close. So that's what in marriage is intimacy. Uh, Marriage is family, creation. Marriage is definitely a ministry because if you are married and you are, active in your church or active in any ministry, active in your community, people feed off of you. People see your relationship, and when you're doing what you're doing, you look good at it. You look powerful. When you are in harmony with your spouse, I'm still on the definition. I'm about to close out. When you're in harmony with your spouse, people look at you and they'll say, wow, because they're actually looking at God. So that's that union that God has. And then there are a lot of things. I want to say one more thing and then I'll close out my definition. When you're married, a lot of people think that spiritually as one. But biologically, when you are married and you're soul tied, you're physically tied, and you have children, when a man enters a woman, then she's marked by that man to have an appetite for him. She's marked biologically for years to come if she gets pregnant by this man. She's marked, and so biologically, that woman's flesh is now got a signature of your husband. Not to mention, you start talking like each other. When you get that perfect harmony in marriage, oh, it's the sweetest thing. So that's my definition of marriage, and that's what it was, and that's what it is. But it is not that today.
Okay. I agree. Today, which was the question, what's the definition of marriage today?
Yeah.
We know what it was back in the day, but as of today, I think it have definite no think in it. I see all the time that it has a different spin. Couples get together today and they're not together tomorrow. So the lack of commitment is right at the top there. They are not committed to each other the way they thought they were, because evidently they found out something later on that they didn't know. And that's why, even back in the day, counseling was not as pronounced as it is today, simply because we had counselors within our family. We had our elders who had been married for 30, 40, 50, 60 years, and they basically were our counselors. Not the case today. And I believe that that's part of the problem of the couples not sticking it out, not resolving their issues because they have not had anyone to counsel them through whatever it is that's going on with them. And because of that lack of knowledge, they do what they think they feel. I feel like I don't want to be with you anymore. I feel like I don't want you in my life anymore, regardless of whether the children are there or not. I just don't want you around me anymore. This is not working out. Well, yeah, the same feelings were back in the day. However, it was dealt with a whole lot differently because there was counseling going on. Even with the pastors being involved back in the day, it's a little bit different than it is today.
You saying now? Hold on now. Just hold. I'm not changing your point. I just want to jump in. You said there was counseling going on.
Back in the day,
I know the church used to sell insurance to families, burial insurance and whole life insurance or whatever. I know the church used to feed on Sundays, but I never heard that the church had regular counseling going on until I started harping about it. Now, there's a couple of churches in this area that I can visually see they do marriage. They protect that institution of marriage. And I know pastors probably do counseling, but to me, with the marriage being the most powerful institution on this earth, I was in a 2,000 member church, and we just had a marriage seminar once a year. Probably if you had problems, you could call for marriage counseling. So what kind of counseling was going on a regular basis? Were the ministers calling for you to come get counseling? How was it so active back then?
well, the counseling, going back to what I was saying, I said the family, the elders in the family was basically our counselors.
Oh, not
I
the church.
elders
When you said elders,
in
you
the
mean
family.
older people
In
in
the
the
family.
family. Yeah, I thought you meant elders
the
of the church.
And there were not so much church counseling going on back then, is what I said.
Okay.
There wasn't like, no.
Oh,
We depended on the elders in the family who have been married 30, 40, 50, 60 years.
yeah.
And they were our counselors because they survived whatever it was that was going on. So they would sit us down and say, look, whatever it is that's going on, whatever the issue was at the time, it might be in your best interest to do thus and so. So they would tell us, and we would meet them with them. We meaning back in the day, not just me and my husband, but me and other couples. They would talk to us, or we'll go to them, whether it be his parents or my parents or grandparents, and they would sit us down, and everybody had a different way of handling it. So we put all of that together and come to our own decision on how we can resolve the issue. Now, does it always work 100%? No. Because we always have those outsiders that's going to be in our ear, one on one shoulder and one on the other shoulder, outsiders, whoever they are, to be in our ear to sway us one way or the other. So I'm saying that all of the counseling, yes, the pastors were involved, but not like they are. I would say this is 2023. I don't think even today in 23 that they are as active as they were, say, in the early 2000s, like 2000 and 2001 or 1999 or late 1900s. The pastors were more involved then, I think, than they are now. And so it's making a difference in how the couples are managing their differences because they don't have anyone to talk to, or they don't choose to go talk to someone, put it that way. And then when you're talking about the elders in the family today, they are not like they were back in our day, because back in our day, it was old school. Everything was different then. I would say 90% of things were different then. I won't say 100, but 90% of the way things are done. So the guidance is definitely missing today. So that's the question, marriage today. I believe that's what's missing in the marriages today.
Can I read the definition so that people can have a comparison? The definition I read earlier was the biblical definition of marriage. let me read you sort of a overview or Webster or AI uh, definition of marriage. Marriage is a legally recognized, often consensual, contractual union between individuals, typically two, typically two, interesting, that establishes rights and obligations between them, their children, and their relatives. It is commonly a permanent bond serving as a social institution for partnership, financial benefit, and family recognition. And they didn't say nothing about spirit in that definition. Um, but I think that definition is what marriage is today, a legal, recognized, consensual, contractual union of individuals. That's what marriage is. It's a
A
contract.
contract.
Today, that's the social, even with Christians, and even I guess in some religions, other religions that I see, they're not saying anything about their spiritual aspect of marriage. So I'm just going to call it what it is. It looks like pastor or teacher or whoever, it looks like your congregation, and I'm in it, is just acting like it's a contract between each other. And if we ain't acting right, we're gonna have to fix it. Now, if God got anything to do with it, maybe we'll invite God in to help us. But that's second. First of all, it's some kind of marriage. And I had always heard that culturally, that our Caucasian brothers and sisters saw marriage just like that. It's an institution to manage that money. Then is a marriage sanctioned by the church. So, but that's what I see that is, and that's a problem. Because if you don't treat marriage as a spiritual entity, then no. If you're getting along, you stay. If not, you go. And right now, as of last year when we did a show related to some issues, we were getting in the black community, we're getting divorced quicker than we're getting married. What say you?
Relationships we were talking about
Mm-hmm.
some time ago.
Yeah.
And that's what marriage is. It's a relationship. Um, yeah, it definitely needs some work. I think that to improve on the marriage, even, and I don't think there's an age limit on it either. It's a situation where anyone at any age can benefit from someone else's knowledge and wisdom. It doesn't matter whether you're 40 or 50 or 60 or 70 years old. You can always learn something different if you're getting into that marriage realm. If you weren't in it for a while or whatever, and now say you're 50, 60, 70 years old, 80 years old, and you're considering marriage. I still don't think there's anything wrong with getting some counseling again, because things are sure enough different now than it was back in the day. I think that at that late age, most of the elders have passed on, so you can't go to them. So you could be between a rock and a hard plate, but I don't think the decisions should be made between the two people.
You
I think some help is needed from an outsider, given, guided, presented by Christ to who that person is. It could be a pastor, but you have to be careful who that pastor is going to be counseling you. So I would say that in today's time, for older people to get married, yes, get the counseling, but get it from someone that you know between the two of you that Christ has blessed you to do so.
let me see the hands of the people who want to get married. Because in my mind, the definition of marriage has changed to optional. If you want to be the holiest of people who are single, you will say, yes, I'm saving myself for marriage. And then you're going to look around and say, well, who am I going to marry? So there are people right now listening, there's single groups everywhere. Now, I've never felt led to go to a single group because I meet people. Uh, I never understood the singles ministry, and I can't talk about the singles ministry because I won't ever end one. But I saw them doing things together, and if I were to talk about the singles ministry, I would probably say why. But there are some people who are shy and they can't meet people in the everyday community, and they don't socialize in that way, or they don't work in an environment that puts them in front of people where they can say, "Hey, I think I like you. Hey, God might be sending you my way." Um, it's really interesting, and I'm trying not to get in trouble. But there are people everywhere, and I think if you live your life based on the contractual definition of marriage that I just got done talking about, then you're seeing people like a dating app, which is really, really based on logistics. It's based on data driven character that you and that person on that app share the likeness and some of the same common feelings. And so this data, this machine will match you with somebody online. I mean, and then I guess you claim one of those people on the dating app, and then you get it authorized by God. Maybe God sent somebody to you through the dating app. But I see this social construct of looking for a wife. But how about this? Let me stop rambling. I see more women. I see more women looking for men than I see men looking for women
Why
in
is
and
that?
around that circle.
Why is that?
I think society has changed to where we have a lot of feminine energy that's leading, that's becoming more dominant in the decision making world, in the business world, and you have women with this alpha energy, and they're stepping to the forefront and doing things. And so they're more assertive in looking for a man when they get their bag, or they have more, women have more audacity nowadays. So I've been looking at some ladies, and I don't want to get in trouble, but I'm wondering, do they want to be found, or do they want to dig a man up out the dirt? They want to labor intensively to dig a man out, their mate. They want to dig him out the dirt like God made man from the dust of the earth. That's how I see it, and I'm like, okay, uh, is it better to be found, or is it something that you go find? Because I really don't know the answer to that. I'm stuck. But I will say women are more assertive in letting a man know that she's available. Now, the other part is I don't see anything wrong with that. I'm just saying that's the way that it is now. And I see men kind of being like, what are these women like? It's almost like we don't know who the women are nowadays. And I just kind of see that in a whole lot of ways. Um, and I don't see them saying, well, I'm going to pray to God and ask him for this wife that I'm supposed to be looking for.
Okay. Um, let's go back to the part about, I think you were saying about the getting married part.
Yeah.
If we want to speak to scripture,
Uh-huh.
First or Second Corinthians 7 says 15 or 16, somewhere between 15, 16, 17, that he prefer for women or men not to marry if they can abstain themselves from the obvious,
I ain't heard that in a while.
because he's a jealous God and he really want us to focus on him. Now, he didn't say don't get married. He said he prefer if you can, abstain from marriage and devote your singlehood to him.
Why you didn't tell me that before now? Are you looking at me at the station? Look at me in the camera. I'm looking at you. We both looking at each other
That's
in the
okay.
station.
That's
But look in
okay.
the screen there. Look at
But
that. Why
I,
you
I,
didn't tell me that before now? You still looking at me. Look inside the computer. Ladies and gentlemen, we're not live on the air often, so that's why I'm picking on her.
we don't know how to
We're,
act when
when
we're.
yeah, we're live and we're in the station right now. We don't know how to act.
Yeah, that particular scripture is very, very informative for
Uh-huh.
those of us who want now. If we want, it goes on to say, if we really want to be married,
Uh-huh.
then we must make sure that we marry someone
Yeah.
that is of the same Christian faith.
Man.
That. In other words, we have to be equally yoked, not unequally yoked. So if and that's the advantage that we have when I said earlier about having the counselor, seeking the elders to tell us these things before we say I do.
But look, I'm not gonna change your point. I'm gonna stay on point with you right now. And I'm sure everybody gonna agree with this. What person don't have 100 ways that they relate to God? I got 100 ways that I relate to God and what I think he is to me and how we do. And then you got 120. And I'm thinking all of this intellect about God, unless all of this religion about God, unless spirit about following God, because you can't get it down to a perfection of what that man ought to be, who he should be, because when you get married, you're going to evolve. You're going to change. You're not going to be the same person this year you are 10 years from now. So people intellectually, like you're saying, people, but I'm saying people intellectually put God in a little box next to a ring and put it on through conversation and trying to line up and I think they talk themselves right into a contract and say, well, we ain't gotta get married. We don't agree.
As I was saying, the counseling is critical. And as we get counseled, we, meaning you, me, whoever
What
it
kind
is.
of counseling? Help me out with
Marriage,
it.
we talking marriage. We
Yeah.
talking from singlehood.
I remember getting counseling before I got married.
Okay. Nobody said it was 100%. It depends
No.
on the counseling,
Yeah.
and it's very, very good to have it. Now, going back to that scripture, if there's any way possible that you want to be married, then just make sure you're going to marry someone of the faith.
Of the faith, that's one.
Of the faith. Because if you're not going to be of the same faith, that's a problem right up front, right to start.
So let me balance out what you're saying. You're saying a Jehovah's Witness and a Christian, or a Christian and somebody that don't believe in God. Which one would
Whichever.
you?
Because they all are different religions.
Right.
They all have different beliefs.
Yeah.
And again, that to me, that sample you just gave is not very. That's not equal,
But that was
because there are different beliefs there, and that you're already going to have a problem, because one is going to want some fish and don't want any beef, and the other one don't want any meat at all, and already you're starting to have problems before you get started.
But that's the easy one you're talking about. Let's talk about this. How and I won't trying to trap you in there, but how many kinds of Christians you got? Baptist, Catholic,
Yeah,
you
but-
got, so there's where it hit home at right there, and that's why we're not getting married, because
not
it's
not following the word,
right. It's not drawing this people spiritually
right?
to marriage, because there are Christians. There's a lot of them.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people in singles ministries, and people are not seeing that it's not that person, it's the God in that person You can't make and shape and mold and get somebody to a T that's loving you like you want in 1 year.
Of course not.
It's gonna take a
Rome,
long
Rome,
time.
Rome was not built in a day.
So
It takes time for
you,
anything worth having.
yeah. So this
Yeah.
discussion, this intellect, like
Yeah.
I said, and I was just picking on you about the same faith, but it's more than the same faith. If for Christians, if it was that easy and people were getting married because they have like faith, I think there'd be more marriages.
Yeah.
Because remember, the Christians are getting divorced the same way as non-Christians are.
I didn't.
That's the backdrop I'm putting on you now.
That's exactly right.
So it ain't helping us to be of the same faith either.
If you're going about it the right way, if you really have Christ in your heart, both of you have Christ in your heart, you're
Yeah.
standing on God's word, it will stand a better chance. I didn't say it was going to be 100%.
It's not helping us as a whole, as Christians, just to say we are of the same faith. But I know what you're saying. Should be a prerequisite to marrying somebody. Yeah. Common sense says it'd be, like you said, marry somebody. Now,
Okay, let me
when-
give you another
when you
example.
are-
Hold on. Okay, now, you get two people together,
yeah,
neither one of them are in the faith.
okay,
Both of them are in the world.
yeah.
Chances of them surviving a marriage, is it better or worse than just the opposite?
Probably better than Christians, or just the same.
Because you have two people say they both gamble. They both go out to the casinos every weekend. That's their highlight. That's what they like doing. They enjoy doing that as a couple. That's what it is for them.
Mm-hmm.
Chances are, yeah, they probably will do better than a couple that's not going in the opposite directions. I think it's self-explanatory that you have one that's in the casinos and one that's in the church.
Okay, I got it. I got what I'm trying to say. What I'm trying to say is the Christians that are married are looking at the personality, the character, the elements of that person, whether they can provide or not, whether they're making enough money, whether they, can buy a big house or whatever property they want to accumulate. They're looking at all of that and measuring a person by that rather than by the godliness of that person. You see, so a lot of women, let me put it in plain English, a lot of women still want that bad boy. They want that street joker. Somewhere in a man, that's what they're attracted to. And they will leave a good man and go, Christians too, and go get that bad boy and drop everything. So I like what you're saying. We're just not using God to save a marriage. We're using the finances. We're using, have you got kids before we were married? And do you get along with your baby daddy? If so, I can't handle that anymore because I can't discipline the child. We're using character and social standards, and that does not save a marriage when it gets in trouble. So you're going to have to, this definition of marriage is the value system is not based on forgiveness, based on what you call it, unconditional love. And I'm not saying everybody that out there, their marriage is garbage. No. I'm just talking about we're getting divorced. Christians are getting divorced just as way as the world is. And that's because of the adultery. That's because of domestic violence. We got the same issues the world got. Why is that?
Absolutely.
Why?
Because we live in the world with everybody else.
So we got married under Christian principles, but we didn't use them in the marriage. I got married under Christian principles, and I exhausted everyone I could. And I'm not calling names because it's been so long ago. I exhausted everyone I could use, and some I wasn't right on, and some she wasn't right on. But we didn't make it. and I was so disappointed. We didn't make it. So
Which lead us to our topic tonight of living single.
living single. Now I'm
Because
single.
because so many couples at different ages, different stages, different years of marriage, come to the point where they are now living single. And because of that living single, they now have a different way of doing things. I'm not going to say that it's better or worse, depending on what the marriage was like. Some couples will say, or some spouses will say, I'm better off now. Now, I'm better off without them in my life. They not bothering me, whatever was going on. And some, as we all know, some, even after they are apart, divorced, going their separate ways as singles, they still have the emotions, the mindset, the mentality, the dream, the not the dream, but the thoughts of whatever happened. So there are many times are reminiscing about how things were. And depending on the environment, you might see something, all of a sudden it triggers something in your head and like, man, I remember when me and my spouse, we used to do this and that and the other, da, da, da. Sometimes you can move on from that and sometimes you can't. So it creates some emotional trauma now that you're in the singlehood. And that emotional trauma can either make you or break you. Either you're going to move on with your life or you're not.
Do you enjoy being single?
Do I enjoy being single? I can say that yes and no. That's an open-ended question. And I say that because as one that may not have ever been married, they cannot compare. But since I was married at
How
one
long?
time.
How long were you married?
How long was I married? Let's see. I have to count. It's been a minute.
That's how long it's been.
That's how long it's been.
You must be enjoying being single then, because you can't hear it. There you go, ladies and gentlemen. There's
That
the
is not
answer.
true. No,
So-
I'm not gonna buy that one.
I'm
That's
just
not
saying,
it.
if
No.
you done forgot that
No,
time
no.
frame,
What it is, I've moved on.
that marriage wasn't that important.
What I've done was
No,
moved
I'm
on.
just kidding. I'm just
And
kidding.
if you move on, then you can go to the next chapter of your life
you in the next chapter.
and just enjoy what God has blessed you with now.
There's our answer.
Because what was then was then. You can't do anything about it. It's over. The Lord has blessed us to be here, to move on with our lives, and who hopefully have the mindset to do more work for Him. Because now getting back to this singlehood, as I said a few minutes ago, He prefer us to be single because it allows more time for Him to do some work for Him. And that's what it's all about. And He will fill in. He will provide you with that significant other if you just hold on and continue to follow Him. Now, that's easier said than done. I know that. It's easier said
Well,
than
you
done.
just
because
said is God says He rather you not, and then if you're not, then He giving you options. Which one is it now? He's gonna.
I didn't say, what kind
You
of
said He
options?
was
I didn't
gonna
say anything.
provide somebody for you.
In His time, if. We don't know if He will or not. He may not want you to have anybody. I don't know that. Who knows that? Who knows? I don't have an answer for that. All I'm saying is what the word is saying. And
Yeah.
that is, if there's any way that you can do without that significant other,
Yeah.
He prefer it if you did. If you can't, He still loves you. If you can't, then God bless you. He go right on. And as long as that person is on one accord, you both are on one accord. And that's serving Him. Now, are there couples that are married and been married for years that's been serving? Absolutely they are. And they're still serving today and been together 30, 40, 50 years. And they still serving together. And that's wonderful. And that's what He wants. If you can find someone like that, just not my turn yet. Getting back to me, obviously it's not my turn because it's been a minute. It's been some years.
I like that. What you
So
said.
I guess it's just not, maybe he's not ready for me to have anyone yet. I don't know.
But
Would
you
I
want,
like,
but you do, what you are interested, and you would get married again.
I would.
Okay.
If the
I
Lord blessed me
understand.
with that significant other, that spirit filled, yes, I would.
Yes. Now that's
Because there's
beautiful.
nothing wrong with that. That's what
Right.
he would want us to do that if we are going to do that.
Yeah.
That's what he prefer his children to do.
Yeah. That's great. Wow, well, ladies and gentlemen, we're hitting it hard. I'm gonna ask Miss Nada one more question about marriage. We got a few more minutes left in the show, but excuse me, one more question about living single. Why come?
Why come?
Why come? That's
Go ahead.
youthful language.
Why
You
come?
hear women talking about marriage and wanting that particular man and what they want in him. But I don't hear women talking about how they can jump into a man's life. If I had a man, I would make sure I improved him, make sure I built him, make sure I was there so God could heal him. Because most of us are broken, most of us got trauma, and I don't want to do this. What I'm about to say. Soon as you start talking like that, you're gonna hear a lady say, "Well, women need to be healed too. Women need to." Come on, man. But
And
women are not saying, "I want a man so I can build a man so he can lead a family." They're not saying that. They just want to. They sound like they picking. Oh, he need to be this and he need to be that. How about you do what God said, which is He put you on this earth to be this man's helpmeet, because we can't do this by ourselves. So if you play the job description that God asked you to, then you'll see both the man and the woman get blessed.
now,
Why aren't women talking about what they can, how
now,
they can help a man?
now, you have some women that try to do that.
Try to do what? Talk
Try to,
about it.
no, try to help the man out. Try to do things for him. Try to go forward.
There's gonna be a lot of shows because women are trying to do that under the fact that they don't know what the man wants or needs. They're just trying to pick. It's almost like you telling me what you want to look like. You ain't asking me, do I like? Would I like you to put on this or do this? You just saying, do I like it? So women are just going about with men like they're just kids, and you're gonna put on me what you want to put on me, clothes wise. You just gonna go ahead and do everything, but you're not gonna ask me.
Every woman is not like that, sir. I don't know. There are some women like that, but every woman is not like that. Now, come on. You putting us all
I
in one
did.
basket.
I
That
did.
is
I
not.
put all every. Look, I'm gonna let you get ready to close it. So you got the last 2 minutes because you're gonna say I out talk you. Because we got to go to the next show with this. But carry on. I got a lot of questions though. Yeah.
Folks, I truly hope that you have gotten enough interest in what we've talked about to want to join us again next time. This is, as I said earlier, this will be more than one part to this as we move forward. And I do hope that you all will consider sending us some questions and comments so that we can address them, because I know we are not the only two out here that's going back and forth with this singlehood and marriage, and we have different ideas. And that's what I said. We have different points of view, and that's what makes it interesting. That's why we on Let's Talk Real Life, and I'm your host, Nada Manning, with Coach Garrison, so that we can talk to you and you can hear our and the debate and the back and forth, and no, you didn't do that. Nah. That's what real life is. We're not dressing up anything. So as we continue on next time with living single, it's a very interesting lifestyle, and I've been at it a long time. I'm still here. It's been rough, and it's going to get rougher. But God has been with me the whole time. He has carried me from one traumatic thing to another, and I'm still here, coming up with my birthday next month. I think it's 3 weeks from now. So if the Lord let me see it, I will say that. I will still be here, and I'm still laughing and talking with you in spite of, but that's what happened. Now, that don't have to be because I'm single.
And
It's,
not married, so she enjoys being single.
we're down to how many minutes?
It
One,
shows-
two. Father God, thank you for this time. Thank you for being with us. Thank you for putting the spirit in our hearts and minds to talk about you and your goodness through this single life that we both are experiencing, and many, many others out there experiencing the same thing. But we want to keep you in it, Lord, because you're good. And we give you the praise no matter what to guide us and keep us in Jesus' name. Till next week, you all be blessed. And I
Okay.
think we are.
WECU 1570 AM, 107.5 FM, NOS 1450 AM. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been a broadcast of Let's Talk Real Life with Miss Nada Manning. We do appreciate you attending. Please send us some questions, like, share, and subscribe when you see us on the social media platforms, GPAT23, WECU, Awesome Radio, Facebook, and YouTube. And I am just talking until the station comes in. But we appreciate you. But I do, in good faith and taste, and with all due respect to the cloth and the men and women of God, I got a lot to talk about when it comes to what we're actually doing, what I'm seeing out there, and what's happening in my life concerning being single. So, and I know a lot of it is off the chain. So, we're good. All right, ladies and gentlemen. Well, Miss Nada, we're gonna talk it out until it cuts us off. But I like a lot of the things that you said. It's really fun tonight. Just
No,
getting
you
kicked
didn't.
off. Well, I like most of what you said.
That's better. You like most of it. You didn't like all of it. But that's okay, because I stand my
Hello,
ground.
this
Yeah.
is
All right,
Akila
y'all have a
speaking
wonderful
here
night.
from the Awesome Radio Network. We are your vehicle to help drive.